In mid-December 2014, an intimate gathering was held in downtown Vancouver honoring Marin Katusa, the New York Times best-selling author of The Colder War: How the Global Energy Trade Slipped from America's Grasp. The event featured some of the biggest names in the global resource business, including Goldcorp Chairman Ian Telfer, Copper Mountain CEO Jim O'Rourke, and Uranium Energy Corporation President and CEO Amir Adnani. To begin the evening, former U.S. Energy Secretary Spencer Abraham shared his thoughts about Marin and the current oil environment via remote hookup from Houston.
Let me begin by saying that I'm sure it's as warm and pleasant in Vancouver today as it is in Houston, with the temperatures in the 70s, but not because of that, but because of a board meeting, I could not participate in person at the event. But I do want to congratulate Marin on his successful book. And we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. I'm in Houston at the board meeting of the Occidental Petroleum Company, where obviously a lot of activity is going on, both in this company and most others located here, and most companies throughout the energy sector, as we meet the current challenges of the marketplace. But I do want to maybe comment a little bit about the general themes in the book, The Colder War. I served as Energy Secretary from 2001 to 2005, which is, in many ways, I think, the key part of the period that the book covers. It's the period during which, in Russia, real transition took place in government and in the economy, and in particular in the energy sector. And as I think back about my experiences during that time as the U.S. Energy Secretary, I recall very vividly the transition in Russia with respect to their views on their natural resources and their natural resources role in the rest of the world. And I think those views are captured well in this book, because I recall that in 2001, as Russia was struggling to accommodate a difficult economy and trying to accumulate revenues, that they were deeply interested in and strongly recruiting Western companies and countries to invest in their energy sector. But as that sector began to grow, as commodity prices began to rise, and as their government strengthened, we saw quite a transition. Initially, it was a transition from the seeking of outside capital or investment in Russia to a brief period during which private companies in Russia were seen as the future of its energy sector. And then almost as quickly as that transition occurred, another transition took place that moved Russia in the direction of essentially looking to government-owned energy companies to take the lead in bringing about this transition of their economy. And during that entire period, basically, I served as Energy Secretary and suspected that as that process continued, we would begin to see a very different Russian approach to energy, which we have, and which I think are well captured in Marin's book. Today, of course, 10 years later, we see an even new and evolving energy sector. It's a sector in which prices are in decline right now in the oil and gas areas, which is going to cause, I think, a great deal of retrenchment on the part of companies, on the part of countries who are highly dependent on energy resources for their national treasuries. The most recent events which took place at the OPEC meeting on November 27th highlight the degree to which there's a lot of anxiety in the marketplace, and there's a lot of, I think, interest in who's going to be the new leaders in that sector. Traditionally, when prices have softened, of course, it's been OPEC taking the lead and and largely the Saudi Arabian leadership has been responsible for reductions in production designed to try to build prices. OPEC took a very different approach at its most recent meeting, and I think that it's entirely possible that if prices continue to fall, they may revisit that decision. But I think one thing that was quite clear as that was happening is that it's not just the OPEC countries who are affected deeply by these changing marketplace conditions. And I think it'll be interesting to see how these changing price conditions affect countries like Russia, who have enjoyed a long period of enhanced economic growth as a result of the expansion of their energy sector and the high commodity prices which we've had on the world stage. I would say to the audience, I know most of you, if not all of you, are involved in energy in one sector or another, that we fully expect to see OPEC monitoring the price situation closely. I would not be shocked if they revisit their production levels before their next meeting in early June if prices continue to decline. I do think the government in Saudi Arabia is somewhat frustrated by the fact that whenever there needs to be a production cut, the burden has always fallen to them to make the cuts. And I believe that part of what happened on November 27th is a reaction by the Saudis and an invitation of sorts to other major producers, including Russia and the United States, to play a part in changing the market composition. In the U.S. and Canada, countries and with our kinds of economies, the expectation is that natural forces will cause reductions in production. I'm not sure what would cause it to happen in Russia, but certainly softening prices will have an impact there and perhaps encourage them to examine what they're doing. And I think if that type of action starts to occur, then you'll also see the OPEC countries revisit the topic of production levels, and of course, as a result, the prices will be affected. But I think that it's an exciting time to be in energy. At the same time, it's a period in which the geopolitical issues that relate to energy are perhaps as strong as they have been at any time since the 1970s. We have a lot of new players in the energy market now. We've talked about those already. But we also have issues, particularly the issues that relate to climate, that are now impacting the energy choices being made at the governmental level and even at the individual level in many parts of the world. And I think the combination of environmental challenges, marketplace challenges, and geopolitical challenges are going to result in some fairly substantial changes across the globe in terms of the energy markets over the next few years. In Washington, where I primarily work, we're seeing that debate going on every day in our at Congress and between Congress and the Obama administration. We're also seeing it play out as between large consumer countries on the one hand and producer countries on the other on the international stage. And so I think we can expect that these challenges, the geopolitical, the market, and the environmental challenges are going to significantly impact the extent to which energy markets overall operate in the course of the next 5 to 10 years. In the U.S., I think you can expect to see a greater degree of attention paid to emissions in the power sector. I think you're going to see an even greater debate over the issues of the technologies that are deployed to enhance energy production as it relates to shale gas and oil from shale formations. I think you saw recently, and as citizens of Canada in many cases tonight, you saw the debate over the Keystone Pipeline begin to re-enter center stage in Washington. I think you should assume It will be back on center stage again after Congress reconvenes, with the new composition of Congress having changed, I think, in a direction favorable to building Keystone. So a lot of those issues, I think, in Washington are going to be front and center in the new year. At the same time, I think we're going to see international tensions affect the energy marketplace in the next year or two, perhaps on a very substantial level. We see already the issues pertaining to the Middle East and some of the conflicts and terror threats that are going on there, achieving a pretty significant level of concern. And we expect that potential disruptions in energy supplies in that region will also have an impact on market conditions in the next year or two. So a lot will be going on, and I'm not going to dominate this program because I have to get back to the board meetings here, but I do want to wish all of you a good evening and a good meeting, and congratulations again to Marin on the success of his book, which covers some topics of both personal interest to me, but I think great interest to anybody who is involved in energy at any level. It certainly sets the stage for some great debate, and I'm sure you'll have that tonight. So thank you very much, and again, I really appreciate the chance to participate and regret that I can't be there in person. Thank you, and good night.